Good morning, Fraud Monarchs. What's going on? I'm Pronago, and today we're going to be taking a look at a new set of games between HitEmUp and Shopkeeper Dog. We see Radium, Genesis Y, and Impetus on the board here, so it's going to be a space platform-themed event. Let's take a look at our first two games in this video, and we'll be closing it out in another video after that. Starting off with Radium, which is kind of like a version of Axiom, by Biddy B, of course, that has been peppered with different asteroids and other such impacts. We still have to fix those tiles in the middle of the map at some point, but besides that, I think the map is pretty interesting. I don't know that it would end up being like there was always like that idea that Biddy B had where he wanted one version of Axiom to be in the pool no matter what. And right now I kind of think Maxium is still the best like premier version, but there's always grounds for potentially like swapping it out and saying like, hey dude, Maxium's been in for a certain amount of time. You want to use Radium instead, or maybe the OG Axiom or something like that. But regardless, this is where we find ourselves here with HitEmUp in the bottom left as the green Zerg and Shopkeeper Dog in the top right. I don't really know what this color is. It's definitely not pumpkin, because pumpkin is more vibrant. But it's, I don't know. I almost want to say it's like a peach, but I don't think we have a peach in the game. So, yeah, peach was more yellow when we had it in the game. If we still have it in the game? I haven't seen it. Well, I'm going to say neon carrot. Ah, it was bronze. Well, that was a reach anyway. I was trying to remember what the color name was that whole time, and I guessed it wrong regardless. So, well, I got absolutely pranked there, but we are back, ladies and gentlemen, and we are looking at Shopkeeper Dog scouting across the map as his bronze mason moves across there. Yeah, I'm sure, Shopkeeper Dog will make some blithe comment about how he's actually bronze for real, but I would say Shopkeeper Dog is probably like at least Masters level if we were to try to port Starcraft 2 ranks to Cosmonarchy. Because he is a Herald class player, And Herald class is trying to come at the king, but they often miss. HitEmUp obviously being the king, being the tyrant of the Tyrant's Tale. He is going for a Larvosk into a Hydras den. Oh yeah, I think HitEmUp plays Zerg in all of these games, but either way, I was told that he is experimenting with different openers in these series. This is a set of games that was in the last week of September played. I think this is like the 23rd or something. So obviously a little bit ago since I'm recording this on the 2nd, but it's one of those things where you get to see what the hell is going on in the meta as it evolves, and Dog is just kind of lackadaisically scouting. I don't know if he went deep enough to see which structure is coming. We've got 4 hydras coming at the same time, and obviously HitEmUp is going to be able to bust through the mines and etc, etc. There is a ministry behind this. Shopkeeper Dog does like to play a little bit fast and loose with sometimes trying to go for those early macro gains. And I think the reason why he does that is because he feels like he has to, jump up to the next tier of tech in order to fight and all this other stuff. Although I don't know how what his opinion is of like fighting Zerg in like the first 5 or so minutes. These hydras are actually going to skirt by almost everything undetected, but it looks like those vultures did end up seeing them. So, Shopkeeper Dog doesn't know this, but he could have just run directly in and start wreaking havoc on the worker count, and that is actually going to force HitEmUp to come back. So that's a nice little respect check, because HitEmUp looks like he was getting ready to move across the map otherwise, but because the vultures were there right in front of him, HitEmUp can't really be aggro in the early stages of the game. And I think maybe if he had gone Izira cores in the early stages of the game, he might have just chanced that, because obviously they would have dealt with that threat of the vultures about as well as the hydras would have, to be fair. But like, I think they move a bit faster, right? So you think about it in a speed perspective or what have you. I do like parking the Mason over here in the back, even though obviously that is a pretty large number of like resources you never get because you're not harvesting with that guy. It's still good. And look at this. Talk about the gains with the macro, like a Dog trying to go for a ministry behind his thing. He's very, very fast 3-base. I would say that this is basically suicidal, but he's thinking of it. He wants to see if he can get away with it. I think it's absolutely absurd to try to take 3 bases. But admittedly, he's up on workers by 2. The Hydra's then now mutating. I guess he's going to go for some fast backdols or something. I just don't really know what Shopkeeper Dog actually has. He's got 5 vultures. He's putting up a second anchor. That's probably going to be pretty important. He's got a 6th vulture. But yeah, he doesn't have anything else, right? So like the move out is coming. And at the very least, he's got some mines laid over here. But once the backdols come out, that's going to pressure him pretty heavily. So, I don't think he's dead. But I just think this is ridiculous. This is really, really crazy. And, he's got no tech. He's only making a second fulcrum right now. So let's see how it goes for him, I guess. I don't know what else I should say about that. These vultures could probably be down here making the same noise that just happened outside my window. Oh, nice little stun there. And I do feel like the mines are going to help out a little bit here. That's really good. That tertiary mine hit. And now the quaternary mine hit, definitely helping out there quite a bit. So that's going to get rid of some of the Azure cores, soften up a few of the other units. And now you can see HitEmUp is going to pre-spread his units in this moment, but it's not really required anymore because the mines are all gone. Some Goliaths are being made. That is cool. And we do like to see the Goliath make up for the fact that it got its range heavily reduced versus ground units by throwing it in the anchor. So when you're in an anchor, you get +2 weapon range, right? That's a similar rule to StarCraft 1, actually. But you also get that range when you're on a cliff. So I'm just saying, if you wanted to put your anchor on a cliff, you get +4 range. Yes, they compound. So the Hatcher Husk up here is going to go ahead and get set up. I think this Mason should have vision of some of the workers now. I don't know if it had vision of the spot where the town center was. That's something that only Dog can tell us. It's like a play on words when you say like only God can know or something like that. Yeah, only Dog because it's God backwards. Shopkeeper God. The Fulcrum. That should be what we call him. Actually, we should call him Shopkeeper God when he does something really good. That's a legit play. This is obviously a series that I'm casting right after some TVZ that he played against Gerald Storm. So you'd think he's a little bit practiced in the matchup, but I can't remember when. I think the Gerald Storm game was played like 2 days before this one. So, there you go. Some more info for you as far as timing is concerned. He's got his phalanx up. He's making another one. So, he's definitely insulated. I guess he's just using this tertiary ministry for the purposes of making more workers and keeping in even keel with the Zerg player, who obviously can explode and will explode when it comes to workers, if not pressured. So, basically, I think because he's gone for that third ministry, the matchup is... At least I've seen, the matchup allows Terran to be somewhat active on the map and maybe set up like a pseudo contain or try to like pressure the Zerg and stop them from expanding. And Dog kind of like let that go after his early Vulture stuff and just said, I'm going to make a third ministry. So he's kind of handshaking and saying like, yeah, I'm just going to try to power as hard, if not harder than you. But look at HitEmUp's worker count. Like, we can see that particular gambit has not paid off. So now it just is a question of, can Dog get up to a certain amount of, mech units to the point where he's forcing HitEmUp to reinvest into units, to stop making ridiculous numbers of workers, to stop saturating this base, for example, before it can actually get saturated, to take it down maybe, to pressure it, and so on and so forth. The anchors are going to go ahead and inch forward, and that is actually going to draw in a lot of the Zerg units before HitEmUp can respond. So he'll end up losing maybe 2-3 units here. There's the third one. But, as you can see, that force is tiny. Like, Shopkeeper Dog can definitely pressure that with his mech army. The concern that I have is that he should have pressured that maybe a little bit sooner, it feels like, since look at HitEmUp's worker count, still up in the 60s now, and going much higher, right? 8 workers in production. He's adding a Zorkish Shroud, so he wants to maybe add some Zorustaleths to this mix so that he can heavily deal with that. There is an Ovoleth in the main. That's actually just being used for scouting, but you don't know that if you don't have detection as Dog. So now you're in a situation, because like when you have detection on a transport, you can click on it and it will tell you if there's units in there, right? If you don't see any text pop up saying the units, then there's no units. So that's going to go ahead and get kaput. There is a Trojan being made. And I think that the Ovoleth would have moved over the star pad at that point to show HitEmUp at least, that, okay, that air unit is actually being made. There is a star pad to begin with. Like, now you can start to consider his situation. 6 o'clock now being taken by HitEmUp as he goes up to a 4th base. That ministry that was made so long ago now landing at the 3rd base. At long last, it feels like. No workers being transferred, however. We'll do a quick worker count. So 17 isn't too bad oversaturated, and 16 is like, it's pretty reasonable as well. It looks like I just missed the transfer. That's why I said no workers being transferred. I told a lie. I told a fib, guys. Hope you can forgive me. Now, as we get deeper into this game, I was just about to say Tier 2 should be coming in pretty soon here for HitEmUp. And some hydras now getting tickled a little bit over here. Again, look at the amount of respect that HitEmUp is like demanding. I don't know if that's the right word. It feels like maybe Dog is being a tad like lackadaisical about his approach so far. Is that he's like allowing 5 hydras to posture and pressure him. And I just saw HitEmUp move over his camera over to 9 o'clock, and I'm guessing that means he wants to go ahead and, yep, he's taking that expansion too. So, you know, there is a single battle worker in the back line over here, and he scouts that there's no static defense. I don't know about that, about like using your battle worker for that purpose, but at least he's finally going to get rid of that. Still, there's the Trojan on the way. It's got 3 Cyclops in it. So that might get a little bit of worker kills, but look at the worker difference here. We're talking about 30 workers difference, even once you account for rounding and stuff. Like, you know, and as you get further along, look, there's 8 more workers in production. Like, this is what Zerg can do. So you do have to watch out for that. Now, it looks like the unprotected 6 o'clock base is going to be the target of the Cyclops drop, and that will shut down this base a little bit. Although there are some combat units over here, more than enough to deal with the Cyclops. That's for sure. You can see Dog trying to pick targets in the more distant area, so that he can maybe catch like the ones and create that sustained explosion there. So it's definitely a good option, because when you're thinking about it from the perspective of the Terran player, you're thinking my opponent's running away with his Droloths. I'm going to see if I can hit the ones that are further away. Trojan doesn't end up getting waypointed anywhere, so it might end up getting kaput. I guess what Dog is thinking is that he's going to show... Oh, he's actually using this to scout where the army is. I mean, he can just fight the army, so there is that. He does have the better army right now, because HitEmUp has 117 workers. So at some point, you know, your military has to give in that situation. So HitEmUp shouldn't be trying to fight over here, it feels like. But let's see how it works out for him. You know, the vultures did end up getting focused down kind of early. We've got a mixture of phalanxes in siege mode and tank mode. The tank mode ones are fine, but the siege mode ones weren't targeting the Hydra ball, and so they end up allowing a lot of these mech units end up going down. I would say many more than was necessary. Now he can see about pushing forward, but look, the Hydras are up to a count of 13. There's nothing to protect the phalanxes. You know, they do okay versus armor, right? So this is a situation where you got to watch out. There is a Mason here for, I suppose, for repairing. When these phalanxes actually go ahead and deploy, they will end up losing their armor. So they are a lot easier to end up getting bopped here. So yeah, that first fight wasn't super good for Dog. It felt like he could have microed his phalanx targeting a little bit better. But as of right now, he's just going to go ahead and try to use that tank mode phalanxes to see if he can, yeah, really get cost-efficient trades here versus the Hydras. And then, you know, because they're not super clumped up or whatever, that one sieged phalanx isn't going to be super effective. Now we're filtering in some Hyrokans for armor rent. Going to be useful, right? Never going to say no to that. And now the Phalanx is reposting that attack. They're going to see if they can pressure that hatch down here. So, you know, we're seeing a little bit of that worrisome, what would you call it? Like, just a concern from the HitEmUp side of like, oh, I made 117 workers, but I barely made any military. Yeah, this is definitely the case, that it's a scary time, and so if that had been pressured a little bit better, maybe the fights had been taken a little bit better, I think you would have seen that base completely fall at one point or another, because more mech units would have been alive after the first engagement, and they would have been able to put damage onto the hatch. That being said, though, the workers are still happily harvesting. 12 o'clock now coming online here for Shopkeeper Dog, but I don't think he's got tier 2. In fact, he's still sticking on just 6 Fulcrums, making 3 Phalanxes and 3 Goliaths at a time. That's going to be his composition for now. He does have the star pad, but he didn't end up remaking anything else. Looks like he must have, yep, he used a Trojan to unload some Hyrokans into the main mineral line. And it looks like that's going to be it. I mean, maybe he'll pick one Zorius after this. Yeah, it looks like he will. That's always nice. Hyrokans are tanky boys after all. Looks like I think the Trojan ended up dying. Some Hydras moving up to 12 o'clock, escorted by 2 Gorger Cores. Or maybe the Hydras are the escort for the Gorger Cores. We don't have a mobile response force here for Shopkeeper Dog, so he should end up lifting that Ministry and trying to repair it, I think. But let's see if it ends... No, I think it's just going to end up going down. Hydras are pretty good versus armored targets, right? The Gorgs end up going down, but the Hydra is definitely going to be able to deal with that. Yeah, Ministry dead. That's a pretty bad move there, for you know, punishing move, you could say, versus Shopkeeper Dog. Now, another drop with the Hyrokans, and I think some more just kind of waddled on over, so that's kind of funny. But they aren't able to do too much. I guess they killed a number of workers, so there is that. But again, like, when I see worker death, I just look at the worker count and see that HitEmUp is on, you know, 5 bases to now 3 as the Ministry getting set up. Oh, is that a treasury, actually? Yeah, it's a treasury on location. So this is going to be the fight to swing the game, I think. So either Shopkeeper Dog is able to repulse the incoming onslaught of Zorius Hydra, or he's going to end up capitulating to it. And with some of his Goliaths kind of out of position, and nothing really protecting his Phalanx line, I think you can see which way the wind is blowing on this one. And with this fight going this way, with nothing at tier 2 coming for Shopkeeper Dog, oh, the Vilgora cores are out and everything, so they create the Carapace Swarm there. So that's a pretty big move. You know, there's a couple of fights going on across the map, but as of right now, I think Shopkeeper Dog, he would be a little bit better off if he decided to go for Okay, there you go. He ends up focusing down a couple of those. I would love to see him actually focus this Hatteras down, but I just don't think he's going to have the time. Conval is going to get blown up. That's a very expensive unit right there. Ends up dying. We got the Terran music out, so maybe there is a chance for Terran victory here. But it just feels a little bit hard to control HitEmUp's growth. That being said, only the bottom right is actually being set up right now for HitEmUp, so our Zerg player isn't, like, completely unchecked now, courtesy of all of these attacks across the map. It does feel like maybe there's something missing, right? He's added the 4 stockades for extra, Cyprians to try to deal with maybe the hydralisks and stuff. He's obviously still rocking some of the tier 1 production, but he's got no Atlas, so that definitely is going to hurt him a little bit. He's got a heavy mineral bank. Now starting to work in more vultures into the mix so that maybe he can preserve that Vespene. The Cyprians are out to try to shred the hydras, but they are not very well protected right now, and so the hydras are getting on top of them. Yeah, I think this is going to be the fight that really breaks him. I do think that fight at 9 o'clock was pretty instructive. Maybe if he had kept those units alive, he would have still been able to do something, but you got to pressure the Zerg, right? So I understand why Dog went for that route. It was not going to be enough. Did not cut the cheese, so to speak, although I say that. There wasn't actually a cheese in this game. I just think, I think about cutting the cheese sometimes, you know what I mean? All right, we're going to go into game number 2, so stay tuned. And here we are on Genesis Y. We have HitEmUp in the top right as the Cyan Zerg? Teal Zerg, god damn it. And Shopkeeper Dog in the bottom right. Oh man, I don't know what this color is. Is this Palatinate Blue? It is. Okay, well, you know what? I got 50% color guess for both games. This one was kind of a layup. It looks so vanilla, right? Because it's one of the basic colors. In Cosmonarchy, we've got over 100 player colors, and you can do a lot of stuff with them. I don't know if HitEmUp is referencing the previous game, or, oh no, yeah, it must not have been the previous game then. They played a number of games, and so HitEmUp decided to submit a few of them for cast. So I don't know if that means that Shopkeeper Dog slapped HitEmUp around a lot and, is actually a secret Gosu, and HitEmUp is just not showing us those games. Wink, wink. But no, I think in actuality, what probably ended up happening was that HitEmUp beat him in a couple of games that were maybe a bit more straightforward. HitEmUp is the reigning champ, so it's not really like an insult to say that, I assume HitEmUp won whenever there's a situation where you're playing some matches. And although he'll tell you that lately he's been on a bit of a rough patch, a rocky patch when it comes to his practice results, I think that once things get going and the balance gets settled and stuff, he's still going to be the strongest player that we have. Top Ramen wasn't that far behind, as Tyrant's Tale was evidence to, but still a healthy distance between them when they were playing in the same race, right? When it was a mirror matchup thing. So kind of interesting there. We'll have to see how the games end up going once we get into Acropolis number 2, where HitEmUp will be featured in the Gauntlet. And he's going for his patented Zork's opener. Zork's Shroud coming up here for HitEmUp. I'm expecting Zoryus because there's no Vespene. And this is one of the things that can be tricky about Zerg, is that HitEmUp's been practicing all of these different strategies and openers and stuff. If you can scout your opponent, like on a 2-spawn map, and we see Dog actually moving through the map. Sorry, I said Sea Dog, and that made me think Sea Dog C, or C Spot C, or whatever, Run Spot Run. Anyway, Shopkeeper Dog will be able to see that there's no Vespene being harvested, and the Shroud is coming, so therefore it's Zoryus. And we'll have to see what he can do with that, because he's already putting down his Ministry, and he's trying to Ministry expand off of no units, right? Oh no, he's got the 1 Vulture. Okay, I was going to say. And yeah, he's going to need a number of Vultures in order to make this one work. Take a sip of coffee, and tell you guys about Coffee. The Coffee link in the bottom right. That's a pretty good spot to go if you want to part ways with your money, but be supporting some very epic things. HitEmUp going for that 3 Zoryus opener. I've seen this a few times versus Protoss. I've never seen it versus Terran. I know he's done this particular opener against Top Ramen, because Ramen has talked about it, but I don't know what it looks like, right? And so that's the that's the concerning part for me. This could be a moment of game balance, And so let's see how it goes. 3 workers being queued up after the 4th Zoryus the Leth is on the way. Personally, I think opening Zoryus should be pretty rare, and it's already actually, I was already thinking about making it so that the Zoryus took 3 extra build time, 3 extra seconds. They were 25 seconds at the time of this, but if they hit 3 seconds later, maybe it makes a significant difference, or maybe it's not. But either way, I made that change a while ago. I would say by a while ago, I mean yesterday. Catching the Zorius in the middle of the map isn't a bad shout. Obviously, you want to try to disengage from them. And yeah, this is actually really good here from Shopkeeper Doug, trying to focus down the units, pick the really Rokors so they can't add that DPS. Oh, he has taken his eye off the ball a little bit here. And remember, of course, he's laying the mines. He's queued up a Goliath. That's a beautiful stun. He should be able to actually kill this that top Zorius. There you go. Does need to remember to not spread his fire. And unfortunately, it does look like he wasn't able to parlay into that mine. Has he not laid any? Yeah, he hasn't laid any of his mines, actually, besides the first two. He's just kind of dealing with the Rilla Rokors right now. They do have lifesteal, so if you let them get on top of you, it's a rough time. The Goliath is out, but I do think that the Goliath might not be the most useful unit to use in this situation. You do need to micro it, that's for sure, but it doesn't actually look like Shopkeeper Doug wanted to. And okay, he's just going to call GG. Well, yeah. You know, I honestly think, and of course every Terran who's watching this is about to like throw their keyboard out the window. I think there was play in this situation. I mean, obviously HitEmUp had like a Hatteras coming down back at the main. So it wasn't like super all in. He didn't have any follow-up after this. And maybe that's what Dog feared. Maybe Dog feared that there was follow-up after this. But I think this is one of those things where it's really hard to tell if you've not practiced against it and you don't know the Zerg POV. Admittedly, we didn't spend too much time actually watching the Zerg POV in this game, but I can go ahead and pop that open while I'm talking about this. I feel like the way that you look at the Zerg overall, like from this position after the Zorius, right? He's down 5 workers. He's going to start trying to patch that up. He's just making workers throughout this whole time, right? So either he's making workers through this whole time and he's like maintaining some semblance of evenness, or he's, oh my god. Well, Shopkeeper Doug also went for a fast third ministry. So maybe that's got something to do with the fact that why he had no units. I was going to say, that's really weird. Yeah, so there was definitely a point where his Fulcrum was inactive for a decent number of that game, decent significant chunk of that game. Even still, I think he almost held. Like it looks silly because there were 2 Zorius at the end of that fight, but I think, you know, after all the Vulture Micro was done, he might have picked one, and then there's one Zorius to the left, right? So there is a single Gorgocore, but that's why the Goliath is there, right? Like, oh, okay, I can deal with that. I feel like when I'm looking at this doesn't look like an unplayable position. You've got your Ministry. If he had been able to hold with double Ministry as his opener, dude, that would have been nuts. That would have been so crazy. And as a result of that, I think it's probably a good thing that the Zorius Rush ended up working out that way. So cool play. Risky build order from Dog. Didn't really get punished immediately in the first game. It was more so like, oh, you're being more lackadaisical about your move outs and you're not really pressuring me, so I'm just going to balloon up to a ridiculous number of workers much faster than you can because I'm Zerg here. And that's great. That's exactly the dynamic that you would expect out of this. But the second game, yeah, definitely got punished. Although I will say, I do feel like the like seeing the way that worked out, it's probably a good thing that Zorius cost 3 more time in terms of seconds. I don't know that it's going to be a significant nerf, but that strategy exists as like an honesty check, and Zerg can play out of it, but it's also, I don't know that it's actually so bad when it comes to like if you can, I guess it does come down to the fact that Dog caught them in the middle of the map, right? So there's some things for us to think about when it comes to the balance of those early strats, but I hope that you have enjoyed the casts nonetheless, and we will be back tomorrow with more action.